During the period beginning 5 a.m. on the 15th day of April 2020 and ending at 5 a.m. on the 22nd day of April 2020 in respect of the entire area of the parish of St. Catherine. So subject to the exemptions, during the period specified for the lockdown, each person who is in the parish of St. Catherine shall remain at an abode or place of residence, which includes the yard, as we call it in Jamaica, your premises, in St. Catherine, except as follows. A, for the purpose of food, medicine, or the essentials of life, the person may travel to the closest practicable location within the parish where the food, medicine, or other essentials of life can be obtained, and then immediately return to the abode or place of residence. This epidemic it's not just the health component of the epidemic, the health aspect of the epidemic that is a challenge, but the economy has taken a very serious blow. And we do not want to put in place measures that are going to make it even worse for people. Mr. Speaker, we hear the complaints of the people operating the bars. We hear the complaints of the persons whose custom has cut in half because people are not traveling as much, purchasing as moving around. We hear and we understand. What is at play, Mr. Speaker? The first thing is, if we do not manage the health aspect of the epidemic in the early stages very well, if we don't contain it in the early stages, then when it reaches to community spread, it is likely to peak in an exponential way that is over and above our capacity to manage. And that in itself, Mr. Speaker, is when the economy will be forced to close. Right now, we are doing it gradually as we assess. But if we weren't managing it, then there wouldn't be any argument. There wouldn't be any room for saying, well, close partially or don't close at all. Because at that stage, the only way to control it would be to shut down the country. Mr. Speaker, in managing this crisis, we have proceeded in a very measured and deliberate manner, trying to balance the twin imperatives of protecting the lives of the people while also protecting their livelihoods. We have been at pains to promote safety protocols such as hand washing, sanitizing, social distancing, wearing masks, etc. And generally speaking, the Jamaican people have done their best to observe these protocols, which is why we have been relatively successful in controlling the spread. We cannot tolerate non-compliance by a few, resulting in the undoing of efforts of the majority of well-thinking Jamaicans. Mr. Speaker, as a result of these developments, we have moved into a different phase of our management of this crisis. We will now have to take more stringent action than we were hoping to, Mr. Speaker, in order to avoid an uncontrolled spread. And for those who would want to violate, for those who would want to show hubris that they can flout the law, the state of Jamaica is going to show with deliberateness that we can enforce our laws, and that we will do it justly and with respect even for the lawbreaker. I don't want the criminals to believe that we have forgotten about them. The truth is that we are still monitoring criminal activity very closely and having to take on the administration and enforcement of these stay-at-home orders. It does stretch the resources of the police, which is why we have to be very careful how we put these orders in place. But I wish to, I'm not giving any warning to any criminal, but I'm going to be very clear that we are still targeting the criminals, we are still conducting the necessary operations, and we are still interdicting and arresting criminals during this period of time.